Hey guys, we are back. Today we're gonna read. Get that down a little bit. Sorry. Today we're gonna read some more about the tabernacle and what God expects in it, and we also get to read about like the priestly garments. So that should be a fun thing to do. Hope everybody's having a awesome day. I've had a very busy day. I worked all day this morning, and now I'm on here for my live stream. But I'm super excited because it's October 1st, and today's the day that me and my kids always decorate for Halloween. So I'm excited about that because when they get home from school, we're gonna deck out the house in Halloween stuff and go outside and deck out the house in Halloween stuff outside too. And it's not raining. I hope it doesn't rain later because I really want to do that today. And they love decorating for holidays, so that's a fun thing to do that they love to do. So today we're going to read Exodus 27 and 28, and I think I will just get started reading that. If you want to follow along, I'm doing the NIV version, but if there's another version you prefer, you can read along with any version you want. You know, there's endless amounts of versions of the Bible today. So, all right. So, we get to learn about the altar of burnt offerings now. Build an altar of acacia wood, 3 cubits high. It is to be square, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits wide. Make a horn at each of the 4 corners, so that the horns and the altars are of one piece. Overlay the altar with bronze. Make all its utensils of bronze, its pots to remove the ashes, and its shovels. Sprinkling bowls, meat forks, and fire pans. Make a grating for it, a bronze network, and make a bronze wing at each of the 4 corners of the network. Put it under the ledge of the altar so that it is halfway up the altar. Make poles of acacia wood for the altar and overlay them with bronze. The poles are to be inserted into the rings so that they will be on 2 sides of the altar when it is carried. Make the altar hollow, out of boards. It is to be made just as you were shown on the mountain. The courtyard. Make a courtyard for the tabernacle. The south side shall be 100 cubits long, and it is to have curtains of finely twisted linen, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The north side shall be 100 cubits long, and is to have curtains, with 20 posts and 20 bronze bases, and with silver hooks and bands on the posts. The west end of the courtyard shall be 50 cubits wide, and have curtains with 10 posts and 10 bases. At the east end, toward the sunrise, the courtyard shall be 50 cubits wide. Curtains 15 cubits long are to be on one side of the entrance, with 3 posts and 3 bases, and curtains 15 cubits long are to be on the other side, with 3 posts and 3 bases. For the entrance to the courtyard, provide a curtain 20 cubits long of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twisted linen, the work of an embroiderer, with 4 posts and 4 bases. All the posts around the courtyard are to have silver bands and hooks and bronze bases. The courtyard shall be 100 cubits long and 50 cubits wide, with curtains of finely twisted linens 5 cubits high, and with bronze bases. All the other articles used in the service of the tabernacle, whatever their function, including all of the tent pegs for it, and those for the courtyard, are to be of bronze. Oil for the lampstand. Command the Israelites to bring you clear oil pressed of olives for the light, so the lamps may be kept burning. In the tent of meeting, outside of the curtain that shields the ark of the covenant law, Aaron and his sons are to keep the lamps burning before the Lord from evening until morning. This is to be a lasting ordinance among the Israelites for generations to come. Priestly garments. Have Aaron your brother brought to you from among the Israelites, along with his sons, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, so they may serve me as priests. Make sacred garments for your brother Aaron to give dignity and honor. Tell all the skilled workers to whom I have given wisdom in such matters that they are to make garments for Aaron, for his consecration, so that he may serve me as priest. These are the garments they are to make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They are to make these sacred garments for your brother Aaron and his sons, so they may serve me as priests. Have them use gold and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. The ephod. Make the ephod of gold and out of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen, the work of skilled hands. It is to have 2 shoulder pieces attached to 2 of its corners, so that it can be fastened. Its skillfully woven waistband is to be like it, of 1 piece, with the ephod, and made with gold, and with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and with finely twisted linen. Take 2 onyx stones and engrave them the names of the sons of Israel, in the order of their birth, 6 names on 1 stone, and the remaining 6 on the other. Engrave the names of the sons of Israel on the 2 stones, the way a gem cutter engraves a seal. Then mount the stones in gold filigree settings and fasten them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod, as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. Aaron is to bear the names on his shoulders as a memorial before the Lord. Make gold filigree settings and 2 braided chains of pure gold, like a rope, and attach the chains to the settings. This is like so specific, it's crazy. Okay, the breastpiece. Fasten a breastpiece for making decisions, the work of skilled hands. Make it like the ephod, of gold and of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely twisted linen. It is to be square, a span long and a span wide, and folded double. Then mount 4 rows of precious stones on it. The first row shall be called carnelian, chrysolite, and beryl. The second row shall be called turquoise, lapis lazuli, and emerald. The third row shall be jacinth, agate, and amethyst. Blech, I can't say that word. The fourth row shall be topaz, onyx, and jasper. Mount them in gold filigree settings. There are to be 12 stones, 1 for each of the names of the sons of Israel, each engraved like a seal with the names of one of the 12 tribes. For the breastpiece, make braided chains of pure gold like a rope. Make 2 gold rings for it and fasten them to the 2 corners of the breastplate. Fasten the 2 gold chains to the rings at the corner of the breastpiece, and on the other end of the chains to the 2 settings attaching them to the shoulder pieces of the ephod at the front. Make 2 golden rings and attach them to the other 2 corners of the breastplate on the inside edge next to the ephod. Make 2 more golden rings and attach them to the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod, close to the seam just above the waistband of the ephod. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. The rings of the breastpiece are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with blue cord, connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod. I've seen like pictures of the ephod, like on the where they wear it on their garments in the front, and then there's like different gems and stuff, but they like used it for. I think they used it like to like ask questions or something. I don't know. It was. I read a whole thing on it, but it's been a long time. It is interesting though, like looking at those things and being like, this is how they did it. It's kind of like a magical thing. You know, mystic thing, I guess. I don't know. I'm not explaining that very well. Whenever Aaron enters the holy place, he will bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart on the breastpiece of decision as a continuing memorial before the Lord. Also put the Urim and the Thummim in the breastpiece, so that they may be over Aaron's heart whenever he enters the presence of the Lord. Thus, Aaron will always bear the means of making decisions for the Israelites over his heart before the Lord. Other priestly garments. Make the robe of the robe. Make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue cloth, with an opening for the head in the center. There shall be a woven edge like a collar around the opening, so it will not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn around the hem of the robe, with gold bells between them. The gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate around the hem of the robe. Aaron must wear it when he ministers. The sound of the bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, so that he will not die. Yeah. Spice rock. That's a great way to say that. Yeah. I mean, I've seen pictures of it, but it's interesting to like look at it. It's very, I don't know. I don't want to say cult-like, but it kind of is. It's kind of that, you know, certain religions and cults like have their garments that they have to wear. Primitive bling. Make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it the seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten a blue cord to it to attach to the turban, so it is to be on the front of the turban. I will be on Aaron's forehead, and he will bear the guilt involved in the sacred gifts the Israelites consecrate, whatever the gift may be. But it will be on Aaron's forehead continually, so they will be acceptable to the Lord. Weave the tunic of fine linen, and make the turban of fine linen. The sash is to be the work of an embroiderer. Make tunics, sashes, and caps for Aaron's sons, to give them dignity and honor. After you put these clothes on, your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint and ordain them. Consecrate them so that they may serve me as priests. Make linen undergarments, such as coverings for the body, reaching from the waist to the thigh. Aaron and his sons must wear them whenever they enter the tent of meeting or approach the altar to minister in the holy place, so they will not incur guilt and die. This is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendants. Huh. I wonder if that has anything to do with, like, the Mormon theology of, like, their magical underwear. Goes along with, like, the... Because it says they have linen undergarments, too. And they can't go into the temple without them. I don't know if that's, like, connected in any way or not. I haven't, like, read the Book of Mormon. I've only read, like, books about the Book of Mormon, so I don't know how, like, all that stuff works, but I didn't know about the undergarment thing, like, in the Bible, so that's an interesting thing to look at and think about, maybe, where other religions might have gotten their ideas about things. Yeah, that was a lot. That was really hard to read because it was like very repetitive and very, I don't know, tedious, I guess. Just like every detail of what the priests had to wear and what people had to, do in order to go into God's presence. And um, I always thought the bell thing was interesting because they always told us, like, growing up in church, that they had to wear bells in case God killed the guy who went into the Holy of Holies. But then we have, like, stories later. I don't know if they're in the Bible. I think they're in the Catholic Bible, but I don't think they're in the Protestant Bible, where they have, like, people who go into the Holy of Holies and, like, slaughter pigs on the altar and stuff. But I wasn't raised, like, knowing that, because I think that's, like, one of the books that they don't put in the Protestant Bible, so I had no idea. Yeah, it was very much repetitive. I've learned this since I've been reading the Bible, is a lot of things are just repetitive. And I don't know if that was, like, on purpose by the writers, or if it's just such a mashup of different people writing that it just, everybody says similar things, but they're not quite the same. So, yeah. I don't know, that's interesting. I've been to the Mormon tabernacle. I've seen the Mormon temple, but I'm not allowed in there because I'm not Mormon. But, yeah, the Mormon tabernacle definitely does not, it's not what it says in the Bible, so I don't know where they get their ideas of, like, the tabernacles and the temples, because, like, if you look at the Jewish religion, like, there was one temple. It's not like there were temples all over the place, where Mormons have temples in every city, where, I don't know, it's just a very different way of thinking about it. But I also know that, like, a lot of the temple rituals that they got were from the Freemasons, because when I went on my, like, little Christian Mormon mission trip, where we went to Utah, and we, like, got to see all the, the buildings in Temple Square, and we went to BYU and talked to, like, Mormon people there, and then we actually went and visited a Freemason temple. Do they call them temples? But it was interesting because they were talking about the similarities between the rituals that they do within that group of people in the Masonry, and how Joseph Smith took a lot of that and put it into the Mormon religion. So a lot of those rituals that they do are just Freemason rituals, but they don't know that because, your church doesn't tell you where things actually come from. Most churches don't. Because if they did that, then they would lose a lot of people. But yeah, that was very interesting to me. And it just goes to show, like, you have to wonder, like, where a lot of the cultural stuff the Jews got. Because I have read, like, different things about, the Jewish people taking different rituals and things from, like, the Egyptians, which is really interesting, because it's like, well, if they took a lot of these things from what they knew during that time and the culture that they were around, like, a lot of other people probably had the same idea about certain cultural things like that. So, Freemason Grand Lodge. There we go. A Grand Lodge. Yes, I got to tour one of those in Utah. It was pretty cool. And I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so it makes me wonder, like, how many things the Jewish people, took from other religions and other cultures that were around them during that time. Because I look at like those different cultures and stuff, and there's a lot of things that are very similar, and a lot of things that are just like they're rip-offs of other religions. So it's interesting that you can look at that and go, oh well, this culture just created their own religion from what they had already known during that time in their own culture. Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is really interesting to think about. And it just shows you like how different cultures, evolve and change over time too, because we look at our culture today and a lot of people are leaving the church and they don't really want a lot to do with it, whether that's because they learned where the Bible actually came from or where the Book of Mormon actually came from, or I don't know, where the Quran actually came from. Like, just having that knowledge and how it changes the way that culture changes and evolves over time. And even with like Christianity, I've talked about this a lot with like my friends and stuff about how Christianity has evolved, because it's not the Christianity of the first century that, Peter and them were preaching. Because like the Christianity that Peter was preaching was very much a Jewish perspective, where you had to keep the laws and, follow what God told you to do, as opposed to Paul, who came along and said, oh no, you just have to believe. So, and even then it's evolved over time, because I mean, I look back on my childhood and a lot of my friends and family were raised fundamentalists, but a lot of them who have more liberal mindset today, they're not as, I don't know, they're not as fundamentalist, obviously, but they just have a different approach to things than the fundamentalists do, and that's why a lot of, the fundamentalist churches are slowly dying out, and it's becoming more of like liberal Christianity. But at the same time, it's like, well, at what point does liberal Christianity just cease to exist too? Because, I mean, I think it's just a step towards atheism if they keep moving in that direction. But I think a lot of people don't want to completely give up their religion, and they don't want to completely give up that idea that they're gonna have somewhere else to go when they die, and that there's someone watching over them and things like that. It's just ingrained in them so much they don't want to let go of it, but at the same time they also don't believe in all of its teachings. And that's one thing that I just don't understand, because when I looked into Christianity, because I was raised fundamentalist, I could not wrap my head around the fact that some of the stuff in the Bible could be metaphor and not true, because I had been taught that it was 100% true. And when I look at it now, it's like, if this like is not 100% true, if Adam and Eve actually did not exist, then there's no reason for Jesus to come, because the whole point was he was supposed to be the second Adam. And I don't know, maybe because I had been ingrained and taught that when I was a kid, that I just can't separate that as well as other people. Because I have other friends who were raised fundamentalists and they're liberal Christians now, and they go to churches that like let women be pastors, and they accept the LGBTQ community, and they accept people for who they are, and they say, well, if God made this person this way, then that's how they're gonna live their lives. But I guess for me, because I just never separated it. Like, I can't separate the fact that if this event in time and history did not actually happen, then there's no reason for this other event to happen. But maybe that's just how my brain works, and other people can compartmentalize things and not always connect them like that, and go like, oh, well, no, there's a God, and Jesus was God, and he came down to earth, but God loves everyone for who they are. And I think that's kind of where the whole liberal mindset is it doesn't matter, like, if we believe all the things in this book, because, God says he loves everyone, so he loves everyone. As long as they believe in God, then they'll go to heaven. And I don't know, it's really confusing to me. And I don't know, maybe if I sat down with someone who actually, like, thought that way. I mean, I have friends that have left fundamentalism and are liberal Christians now, but it just confuses me, I guess. But yeah, it definitely just changed the way you see things and how things evolve over time and how things change. And, in the future, I know things are going to change even more. Like, but then I wonder, at what point do people draw a line and say, well, if all these things aren't true, then why do I follow them? It just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I'm just not thinking. I don't know. I guess I just don't think that way. But yeah, it definitely goes back into, I think, culture too, because I think the culture that you're raised in and you're around definitely can change your perspective and change your mindset on things. So, and I kind of like the culture I'm around now, because I'm more open and more able to be honest about, what I think and what I feel, and what, the Bible makes more sense to me now as a book for a certain time period for certain people, but it doesn't make sense in today's society, because we have evolved into a point where it's no longer needed. Like, because we have, other things that show us, how things came into being. We might not have all the answers, but I mean, we have evidence of, like, the Big Bang, and we have evidence of, how old the Earth is, and, we have all this science and math and all these things that people in that culture didn't have, and they had no idea about, because they didn't have because they didn't have the capability to even look into those things. So yeah, I think that's a huge thing too, is the church is a huge community center, and I think people really struggle with not having that community. But I think nowadays people are getting better about creating communities on their own, whether it's online or, small groups of people in the same city as you or whatever. Like, I think we have more access to the ability to have community things with people around us, where we don't have to go to a place that believes things that we don't believe. But I think at the same time too, that goes along with, like, your family and stuff too, because I feel like a lot of people who don't believe will just go to church with their spouse or, their parents or whatever, because they feel like that's what they need to do, even though they don't believe it. I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, I went back to church like one time after I had left, and it was really weird, because I was literally sitting there in the front row, and like all these things, all the things the pastor was preaching about, like, he was talking about how there were, certain prophecies and things about Jesus that people knew it was going to be him because of what he had done. And, like, they said that he was going to be, like, a miracle worker. And so a lot of people knew Jesus was the Messiah because he had done all these miracles and stuff. And I'm just sitting in the front row, like, writing down all this stuff that I know. I'm like, oh, this isn't true because of this. And this, I was just, like, debunking everything he was saying. And I'm just like, this is too weird. I can't be in this environment anymore, because all I can do is sit here and think about all the information that I have, like, read and I know now from actually looking into the Bible and actually like looking into what the Jewish people actually believed about the Messiah versus what Christians believe about the Messiah. And it was just a whole notebook on, yeah, it was a whole notebook of just, well, maybe not a whole notebook, but the notebook I took, I wrote pages of just all the things that were wrong with his sermon and how it doesn't line up with what Jews actually believe and how certain things that he said are not actually true. And I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't come back here every week because I'm just gonna sit there and think of all of the things that are wrong with his sermon. And yeah, it's weird. And it's one of those things too where it's like people are like, "Oh, you'll come back to your faith one day. You're just going through a phase." And it's like, when you know as much as I know from what I've read and from, you know, what other people have read and how I've talked to other people, like, there's no going back. Like, there's no reason in my mind to go back to believing something that has no basis in reality for me. And even if, you know, God did exist, there are so many issues within the Bible that would just make me not be able to even worship him or follow him if he was a real being. So, and it's hard to like tell Christians that because it's like I literally have a mind full of just information that, you know, some of the things that if I told them, they would just absolutely deny it or absolutely not believe me or think that I'm crazy or that Satan's tricking me. It's just it's weird, man. It's just weird. But yeah, I definitely, church is not my thing anymore. So and that's fine because now I get to sleep in on Sundays, which is nice. Yeah. Anyways, I like to just spill my guts out on these every day. Anyways, well, that was fun reading. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to do reading stuff on the weekends, but I'm going to try to start doing it every day, at least through Monday through Friday. So my next live stream probably will be on Monday. We'll see. Sundays, I have the house to myself too, so I might do something on Sundays. Or, you know. Yeah, no, they can't tell the difference. That's the problem. You can't tell the difference between Satan and God. They just have to believe it's God and not Satan. Exactly, they can't, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, Monday. Oh, wow. Sundays. So, yep. So, I will see you guys all on Monday then.